Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. If you'd like to see more information about this podcast, or if you'd like to see more of my free resources, just go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com. But for now, I really hope that you enjoy this podcast, and if you do, then I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe on iTunes and leave a positive review so that more people can have the chance to listen to this great work. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. Although you may not realize it, the people that you spend the most time with will completely shape your thoughts and actions. There is a lot of truth in the idea that we all become the average of the 5 people who we spend the most time with. Take a moment to analyze the people with whom you spend the most time, and it will be clear to you that you share many of the same habits as them. You probably belong to the same income bracket, live in a similarly priced home, share similar views on politics and religion, and think the same way about many topics. Epictetus had very clear thoughts on this subject, and his is some of the best advice that anyone could take. He said, quote, "Be careful whom you associate with. It is human to imitate the habits of those with whom we interact. We inadvertently adopt their interests, their opinions, their values, and their habit of interpreting events. Though many people mean well, they can just the same have a deleterious influence on you because they are undisciplined about what is worthy and what isn't." End quote. This is the kind of advice that we hear being given by personal development leaders today, but it was given by Epictetus thousands of years ago. We really do need to be so careful about who we associate with, because in my view, people, just like books and television, can be mental food or mental poison. If your friends are incredibly negative people, then the chances are that you are, or will eventually become, a negative person. It is also true that every single conversation that you have with anyone has an effect on your mind. It will either grow your mind or degrade your mind. If you really want to test this principle, here's a good experiment for you. Think of your most positive friend, and then think of your most negative friend. Think of one who is always involved in some effort to excel and who is excited about life, and then think of one who is always in a habit of complaining and gossiping. Spend an hour alone with each of these people and be conscious of how you feel at the end of that hour. The conclusion that you will find is that you will always feel better when you have spent the time with a person who is positive. Positivity spreads, and so does negativity. Having said all this, if you do feel better with the negative friend than with the positive friend, then you should probably recognize that you have become a negative person. Birds of the feather flock together. And if you find great pleasure in spending time with people who gossip, judge, and complain, then you need to separate yourself from that crowd as soon as possible. Epictetus continues with his great relationship advice by saying, quote, "Remember that our moral influence is a two-way street, and we should thus make sure by our own thoughts, words, and deeds to be a positive influence on those we deal with. The real test of personal excellence lies in the attention we give to the often neglected small details of our conduct. Regularly ask yourself, how are my thoughts, words, and deeds affecting my friends, my spouse, my neighbor, my child, my employer, my subordinates, my fellow citizens? Am I doing my part to contribute to the spiritual progress of all with whom I come into contact? Make it your business to draw out the best in others by being an exemplar yourself." End quote. It is true that we should be thinking not only about the influence that others are having on us, but also about the influence that we are having on those same people in our lives. See, I believe that one of two things happens when you spend considerable time with one person. Either you go to their level or they come to yours. Or in other words, if you're a positive person and you hang around a complainer, either you will become a complainer or they will become more positive. So it's up to you to decide what will happen with your relationships. Will you be a person who goes to other people's levels, or will you be a person who lifts others up and makes them better just for having known you? It's such a shame that not many people have been intentional with the acquaintances and friends that they allow into their lives. We wander through life unaware of the influences that are upon us, and so we never stop to question why we allow ourselves to be tossed and turned by the people with whom we associate. Let's immediately wake up from this slumber and begin to be conscious of the fact that every relationship does us either good or harm. There is no middle ground. If a friend is not lifting you up to become better, then they are pulling you down to their level. Epictetus went on to say, quote, "Just because some people are nice to you doesn't mean that you should spend time with them. Just because they seek you out and are interested in you or your affairs doesn't mean that you should associate with them. Be selective about whom you take on as friends, colleagues, and neighbors. All of these people can affect your destiny." End quote. You should be friendly to all acquaintances, and you must show respect to those who enter your life, but you also have a responsibility to take care of your own mind. Epictetus is right in saying that just because somebody is nice or because they want to be around you doesn't warrant giving them your most precious resources, your mind and your time. I think there's also another really important takeaway in what Epictetus is saying. He said that all people who associate with you can affect your destiny. See, it's no short-term effect when you hang around people. If you have a great friend and they're heading just 1 degree in a different direction to where you want to go in life, you may find that 20 years from now you have moved your entire course into their direction, and now you're miles away from where you wanted to be. Epictetus continues, quote, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls for your best." End quote. When I read this quote, I think of the time that I spent on cruise ships as a musician. When I first boarded the ship on my very first contract, I had decided to get healthy, so I went to the gym to see what I was working with. I stumbled upon a health seminar being given by the head personal trainer on the ship, and after the seminar I decided to ask him for some advice. From here I was able to build a great friendship with this guy, and over the next few months I got into the best shape of my life, and I gained so much more self-confidence, just because I was now friends with somebody who took their own health very seriously. His influence on my life is so great that I'm now studying to get my Certificate 4 in personal training. This is a great example of a positive thing happening in my life as a result of me aligning myself with people who are superior to me in one aspect or another. Let us immediately begin to build better relationships with those who lift us up in life. And as well as this, we should divorce ourselves from those who are pulling us down. This may seem harsh, but it is a necessary step for all of those who wish to leave the crowd of mediocrity. These people who pull us down will at first be resistant. They will feel lost when we march onto new territories without them. But don't look back. They will either join you on your path to a better life, or they will find their place in this world as they fall back into their negative ways. This is not your concern. Love them and wish them well, for it is also the duty of a Stoic to live in harmony with all people. But don't feel for a second as though you are doing something wrong by moving on towards a more positive and intentional existence. As you leave the herd and separate yourself from those who pull you back, you can be sure of one promise. You will find a better life, better relationships, and better results. The fruits of your efforts will be made apparent, and they will serve as an example to those who tried to keep you down. Hey there, thank you so much for listening to this. I'm so grateful for your support, and I'm grateful that you're spending the time to listen to the things that I'm putting together here. If these episodes are empowering for you and if they're adding value to your life, then I would really appreciate a review, and you can do that on iTunes, and it's just really helpful. It helps us to get this podcast out to other people who might enjoy it just as much as you. If you want to get in contact with me, or if you have any feedback or anything that you do or don't like about the show that you want to share with me, then please go to my website and send me an email. The website is risetothegoodlife.com. Or if you're a Facebook person, you can just go to my Facebook page, which is either Simon Drew or Daily Stoic Quotes. Anyway, I will talk to you next time, but until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I really hope that it's valuable to you, and I really hope that it helps you to live a better life. If it has been valuable to you, please don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and leave a positive review. If you'd like to see more free resources, just go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com.